Station in News Central Television. I am Benga Borowa. That's the program where we bring you up to speed with all the political happenings on the African continent. But we start the conversation today in Nigeria, where President Bola Tinubu has assured the citizens that there is light at the end of the tunnel following the economic crisis plaguing the country, which has resulted into the high cost of living. And later in the program, we will be talking about the fear of coup d'etats in African countries, which has prompted Rwanda and Cameroon with sit-tight leaders to completely overhaul their country's security architecture by making telling changes in the military hierarchy. We're going to a quick break. When we return, we'll get straight into the program. Welcome back to the conversation in News Central Television. President Bola Tinubu of Nigeria admits the economic hardships resulting from the removal of fuel subsidies, reassured the nation of his commitment to administering the necessary bitter pill for the sake of the country's future. He emphasized the importance of private and public sector partnerships and collaborations, accountability and transparency in driving sustained reforms. President Tinubu expresses determination to implement 8 priority reform areas under his Renewed Hope agenda within 3 years, emphasizing the need to leverage Nigeria's abundant human and natural resources, particularly in agriculture and commodities, trading to foster prosperity. Let's take a listen to Mr. President.
We must kill our advantages in the economic path. And we must kill it. No matter how bitter the tablet or the medication is, take it. And the economic turbulence that we ran into is not without silver lining. We believe in the courage of bold endeavors. And it can only be driven by a serious collaboration with the private sector and the public sector. Strong adherence to accountability and transparency in every way possible. We have gone through the past. I don't look back. My horse and race is forward looking. And when you look at the country, you see how blessed we are, human and capital resources. There's so much opportunity that we can turn it into prosperity. We have abundance of knowledge. We have mineral resources untapped, undeveloped.
Joining me this evening on this conversation is Achike Chude, a public affairs analyst, who joins us live from our studio in Lagos, Nigeria. And also Ayobami Ladipo, a political analyst, who joins us also live from our studio. Gentlemen, welcome to the conversation.
Thank you.
Now I'd like to start with Achike. President Bola Tinubu mentioned the need to administer a bitter pill to address economic hardship. Could you elaborate on what this bitter pill entails and how is it expected to benefit the nation? What sort of bitter pills are Nigerians taking at the moment?
Yeah, well, I want to believe that the bitter pills he's talking about is nothing new from the bitter pills that Nigerians have been taking, especially since the period of civilian governance in Nigeria from 1999 to date. it is very clear that it has not been an easy journey for Nigerians who have been told several times that it is only when they tighten their belts, it is only when they make the necessary sacrifices that they will begin to see the silver lining, and to feel the effect of, a better, of better governance translate in terms of their welfare. But this is something that Nigerians have had to go through. Nigerians were told to tighten their belt, even under the MPN of 1979. Up to today, Nigerians have been told to make all necessary sacrifices for a better future. And I think the one thing Nigerians will be hoping for is that the political elites who keep on telling us that that is the only way to go are not willing, have never been willing, and have never made any sacrifice on behalf of the Nigerian nation. It has always been the people. And so, what are these bitter pills? Joblessness, unemployment, insecurity, because they are the ones, the ordinary Nigerians are the ones that are the receiving end of serious insecurity in the country. Proper lack of welfare for the citizens, economic inequality and disparity, and inability to meet up with basic family responsibilities. So these are the bitter pills, especially occasioned by the inflation that has hit the country so hard since the removal of complete removal of fuel subsidy. So it's about the inability of Nigerians to meet up with their expectations, to pay their children's school fees, and to put fuel in their vehicles, because as inflation continues to, go up, the incomes of Nigerians remains the same. And so these are the bitter pills I believe that the president is talking about. And but I would just say that look, words are cheap. We have had, if you listen to all the broadcasts that our former presidents have made in this country, it used to be on May Day, October 1st, by the military, dictatorships, and then the civilians took over. So they have always, all of them have always made promises of a better tomorrow, giving people assurances that their lives will be better. And what Nigerians are seeing today is 33% unemployment rate and all that. So the president has come in. Yes, he's still new, but the reality is that some of our Nigerians would wish that they themselves, when they say, should also wear the shoes that Nigerians are wearing so that they will know where it pinches. They don't wear those shoes.
Okay. Thank you, Achike. I would like to pick up from where you left and bring in Ayobami into the conversation. Now, Ayobami, we operate in a low-trust environment, and Achike rightly said that, if you go back to the MPN days, it's the same type of promises that politicians have been making. There's a trust deficit and all of that. Now, President Tinubu, in his broadcast, in his speech, mentioned his no excuses platform for his renewed hope agenda. Are you confident, from what you've seen the first few weeks of this presidency, that this might be a departure from the past and it's not just politic speaking? And are you confident that the government is going to live up to expectations? Ministers were named just a few days ago. What's your take on this, on the no excuses platform for the renewed hope agenda?
Okay, straight to your
You're welcome back to the conversation in News Central Television. We do apologize for that technical glitch before we went on that break. And I still have in the studio with me Achike Chude and Ayobami Ladipo, both political affairs analysts. Now, Ayobami, I want to pick up from where Achike left off. He said, Nigerians have been making these promises, the Nigerian government, since the MPN days. And we do understand that there's a trust deficit in Nigeria. We operate in a low-trust environment. President Tinubu yesterday mentioned his no excuses platform for his renewed hope agenda. Can you elaborate on these challenges or obstacles his administration might face in implementing these reforms? And how confident are you that this will not just be another politician making making promises and that he will not fulfill. How confident are you that this administration will live up to at least most of its promises and will see a departure from the past?
Okay, without making unnecessary rhetorics about the past from the MPN days till now, I would like to say something. To every administration, there's a peculiar challenge. Every administration comes with its own challenges, comes with its own baggage, and so you're trying to find a way around to navigate and to get to deliver the promises that you made to the people during the campaign period, during the campaign era, your manifesto, for you to deliver those things, those sweet promises to the electorate. I would like to say that for me, as a person, as a Nigerian, it's a capital yes for me. Do I believe in the administration of President Bola Tinubu, in the renewed hope agenda? Yes, I do. Well, it is subsidy right now, so we're talking subsidy removal, the effects on the people, on Nigerians. The bitter pill that the president mentioned has to do with the current reality, the economic hardship in the land, yes, which we're all feeling right now. But did this administration of President Bola Tinubu lead us here? No. It is something that will be inherited, and the best way to get out of this is what we're facing right now. It's just a phase that we need to go through. There are short-term provisions, there are medium-term solutions, and eventually there's the long-term solutions. All of this, they have been, so we've read through his blueprint, things that have been mapped out, how to walk us out of this tight situation that we are right now. I feel that it will be a bit insensitive if we just hold President Bola Tinubu by the jugular. It's just about 3 months in office, and this is a man that is saying, you see, I campaigned for this. Do not pity me, but I will deliver. I would make sure that I bring to you a Nigeria that works, a nation that we would all be proud of. Now, we have the human resources, we have the capital resources. How do we merge these two together? How do we make sure that there's a balance and there's a cooperation from the private sector and the public sector? And more particularly, what Nigerians would want at a time like this is the sincerity of government, which the president also talked about, where he said it's going to be a transparent government where you know what is happening. And for once, I think we should give kudos to President Bola Tinubu, because you have a president that I personally believe is responsive, a president that is listening, that has is concerned about the people. He wants a Nigeria that works. He wants to leave a legacy of being one of the best presidents that this country has ever had. And so for that, I want to believe that right now, Nigerians are doing, yes, we're now living with that reality of subsidy being taken. Nobody seems to remember that anymore. We're trying to balance, settle down into our realities and see how we can make things work. In the pain, you're trying to find a new way to navigate out of all of this. And I think that's where we are.
Thank you very much, Ayobami. Now, Achike, you are a member of the civil society. You're a member of the Joint Action Front. What is the general sentiment among the Nigerian population regarding this reform? So they feel they've been carried along. Do they see it as a worthy sacrifice? Are there any concerns and on what the government really means for them? Because the latest news reaching us is that the Nigerian Labour Congress is threatening to go on a 2-day warning strike. They say they've not seen the effect of the palliatives and to protest the economic situation and the hardship Nigerians are going through. What's your take on this?
Yeah, I think there's a general feeling that the president is dancing essentially to the tunes of foreign interests. The IMF and then the World Bank when it comes to this reform. And one thing that we have known for those people who are championing the free market economy from the perspective of Western economies or Western democracies is the fact that these reforms have never really worked anywhere. The IMF itself at the time talked about their failures in Africa, and the fact that some of the policies that they asked African countries to undertake were not exactly designed for the continent. And if you look at what has happened in Latin America, for instance, Latin America is one continent that is racked with debts as a result of the economic reforms they had to embark upon. You're talking about countries like Argentina and others, and so these reforms have not exactly worked because there are people who have said that they are not exactly tailor-made for Africa. These are foreign interests that are
So you can have a copy and paste approach.
Yeah, exactly. And so in terms of a general perception, of course, a lot of Nigerians feel that the president finds himself more beholden to international interests and not Nigerian interests.
Yeah, but Mr. President did something in the wake of the removal of the subsidy a few weeks ago. He did address the nation and said, "I feel your pain." That's a departure from what we used to witness in the past under the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari. Do you think his approach?
These are words. These are words. Anybody can utter that word. It doesn't mean that it is meant. Because if he feels our pains, let us also realize. Let us also see how the shoes will pinch him. Let us also see what kind of sacrifice he and his members of his cabinet and members of National Assembly are going to make. Sorry
to butt in, Chike. The president earlier this week said that if government officials, those that are not directly involved in the United Nations General Assembly upcoming meeting in New York, should not travel, do you think that's it's worthy of commendation that the government is looking at tightening its belts?
What is good is good. It's a good thing. But some of us feel that it's cosmetic. It's not fundamental. Of course, it is symbolic because hopefully it will send the right kind of message. Hopefully. But for as long as the elites, the political elites, government-appointed officials are still living, the kind of ostentatious lifestyle they are living at the expense of the Nigerian people, you cannot say that he means it. So we expect the president, if he means it, to ensure that he drives a process where, members of the National Assembly, state houses of assembly, and then members of the executive at both national and state level will be able, to be put in a position where they can feel the pain that the Nigerian people are going through. For as long as they do not feel this pain, for as long as, for instance, the issue of our falling educational standards in this country, for as long as the children of the rich and the elites do not go to our universities and to our schools, here, public schools, then nothing is going to change. For as long as they don't undertake treatment in our hospitals and our clinics, nothing is going to change. So all of these things that are being said is just talk. Like I said, they need we need to know that they are part of us. And the only way we can know, for instance, a situation where a senator of the Federal Republic is earning 19 million to 32 million is an abominable scandal. And so we want the president, hopefully, to drive this reform at that particular level because, like he said, and I would agree that the country does not have the money from what he's saying, to be able to, for the Nigerian people to be subsidized in terms of, what they were doing, in terms of the...
And also we're borrowing at an unsustainable rate, where debt repayments is 90% of our foreign earnings. So that's unsustainable. Now, just before we begin to wrap up this conversation, I'd like to bring Ayobami back into the conversation. President Tinubu emphasizes commitment to public-private sector partnerships for economic growth, stressing that you can't leave everything to government alone. How can this synergy best work to bring economic development and prosperity to the people of Nigeria? How do you suggest the public and the government work hand in hand to realize this goal?
Okay, so I would answer that question, but I would quickly have to say something. As much as we feel that some of whatever it is that the president is doing are cosmetic, or you feel that they are just mere words, we also need to understand that even for civil societies too, most times you tend to lump up different issues into a separate conversation, because the thing is, it is about the economic reform right now, and we should be having sincere conversations, if we're on the right path or not, about the reform of our economy. Educational reforms are on a different scale. Talking about other issues are on a different scale. Now, about the public and private sector, I'll use an example. Back in the days when we used to have just NITEL, and for us to make phone call, you have to, I don't know what distance you would have a NITEL
Phone booth, yeah.
phone booths close to your house, where many of us would have to walk as much as 10 kilometers, probably to just go make a phone call that you dial, get that card and come back, until the private sector invested in it before we were able to find a balance. Now, what looked like a big deal, what looked like a dream that can never come to reality is now what we're doing now. That we now have our mobile phones, the technology that we didn't believe will ever come is what we're using now. That's why you can watch even TV, you can watch this program, you can watch on TV, you can watch on YouTube, you can watch on your streaming platforms. A collaborative effort between the public sector and the private sector would drive the economy of Nigeria out of this doldrum, would help and navigate the way for us to get to economic prosperity. That is one thing that I strongly believe in. I'm not an economist, but we know one thing for sure, that if you come to the table with the current economic reforms that have been outlined by President Bola Tinubu, we will get out of this in no longer time.
Thank you very much, Ayobami Ladipo and Achike Chude, political affairs analyst, for joining me today on The Conversation. I do appreciate your insights and your contribution to the program.